gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are going to be reviewing a game that was released on Kickstarter. You can now pick it up at the publisher's website, which is Rock Manor Games. This is Set a Watch, and we've got the deluxe edition. Now, the game is designed by Todd Walsh. And I'm going to toss it over to Julie now, and she'll tell you a little bit more about the game itself.
It's a cooperative game. Yay, we're back to cooperative games.
Well, that's what we've been doing lately.
Yeah, in and out of order, yes. It's for ages 10 and above. It's a 1 to 4 player game that plays in about 60 minutes.
Yes. Now, what are you going to be doing in Set a Watch? Well, the publisher describes it as a combat puzzle, and it is a little bit of a puzzle. Essentially, you are adventurers and you are journeying across the land to stop the evil Unhallowed. What happens is, well, when you take a nap or go to sleep for the evening, so you set your camp, well, that's when the evil horde of monsters decides to attack you. One hero will remain at camp, taking camp actions, while the other heroes will go on watch and defend the camp against the monster horde. You'll then have to go through 8 locations, getting to the final location, and then you must beat the last horde, hopefully, and save the land and win the game. I think I described that fairly well.
Yep.
So, what time is it then, Julie?
Well, it's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend.
And traveling companions.
Yes, fellow adventurer.
We're going to take it to the table.
We're definitely going to take it to the table. I do like how everything fits in the box. I got to say,
we can definitely say it's a good travel game as we've traveled with it and played with it remotely. So
yeah, you'll hear more about our thoughts in just a moment. Now let's take a quick look at the components for Set a Watch. We'll start with the rule book. I was able to get everything on camera for a change. So as you can see, it's well put together, nice setup guide. It will definitely take you through all the rounds, some nice solid explanations of all the different things that can be done during the game. You're definitely going to want to use the FAQ and the glossary, as it will clarify what all of the different terms mean. And on the back, you've got the round overview. So keep this and this nearby for sure, because it'll make things a lot easier. For example, the way the reveal mechanic works will drastically affect some of the decisions you're going to make during the game. Now we actually have the box here, which also serves as the game board. We've got some location to place different cards, our camp that we're going to be protecting, the unused locations section, and the horde, which we'll talk about when we discuss how to play. Now the game also includes 18 dice. You've got 9d6 and 9d8. You're going to be using them based on the characters that you select. Now here we've got the location cards, which can be used in camp for these symbols on the back, which is Vanquish, Bolster, and Seal. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the how to play. Now you have 3 different kinds of locations. You have your standard ones right here, like the Witch's Shack, no symbol there. Here you can see how it affects your firewood, amount of monsters, and anything that you're going to be doing. Well, not anything you're going to be doing, any special effects that occur during the round. Now, for example, I said anything you can be doing with regards to the remote tavern. This lets you do something more when you go there. And as you can see, this has the little camp icon, meaning it's more of a safe haven. Now we have the Forbidden Tower, which is one of the final locations, which also has an ability. And you can see, once again, how it affects your firewood and the amount of creatures you'll be facing. Here we've got the upgraded components from the Kickstarter Deluxe Edition. These firewood trackers, now you can use the multiple ones for different levels or just one. It's completely up to you. And we've got the upgraded trackers for how many times you go to camp. And they're all nice wooden components. And I really like the quality of all of them. Next, we have the creature deck. So we'll just flip it over and show some of the different creatures. This guy actually was supposed to be here. He is Unhallowed. Unhallowed have their own deck. We'll talk about in just a second. So as you can see, we've got Fire Serpent, the type of creature. It's a fire elemental. We've got goblins, fairies, forest creatures, the undead, skeletons, and a whole slew of different creatures, which we're going to be making up the horde that is attacking you. Now, these 2 special creatures are the acolytes. These I would say they worship the Unhallowed, or are members of the Unhallowed. They have some nasty abilities in reveal and first position, which can make the game a lot more challenging as they start to bring the Unhallowed into play. Next, we have the summon cards. In the base game, you get 4. However, when you are playing with the Kickstarter Deluxe version, we have a total of, I believe we've got 9. I thought there was only 8. We've got 9 summons because they have different abilities. You've got the standard ones, whereas the special Kickstarter ones have different effects to make the game more challenging. Now, take a look at the Unhallowed, which are face-up cards. Now, these are some of the strongest monsters in the game. Ideally, you want to face the least amount as possible, and they have their own deck, and they'll be brought into play by the acolytes and the summon cards. Next, we have the characters, which are divided really into 2 sets. You have your D6 characters, such as the Bard, Rogue, Cleric, Wizard, Ranger. Sorry, we're out of the D6 now. We're now into the D8 characters. So we've got the Ranger, Warrior, Knight, the Beastmaster. Now, you can tell what type of character they are, like how they attack, by the symbol right here. So the Beastmaster is a ranged character, whereas the Bard, for example, is a melee character. And there you have it. We've taken a quick look at the components for Set a Watch. Now we're going to teach you how to set up the game and then take you through a round of the game to show you how to play. And I'm back quickly with some components because I realized I showed you the characters. I didn't show you their ability cards, so we're just going to tack this on before we get to the setup. So here are the character ability cards. As you can see, they're double-sided when they can be used, when they're exhausted, and they represent wounds at that point. Now, each character has a set of 5 ability cards that they can use, and they can be equipped throughout the game. So you can swap your abilities. You're not stuck with a specific ability. Now, I really like some of the rogues. Backstab is very cool. Reveal 2 creatures, then defeat one of them whose health is equal to or under the total die roll for this round. You have your passive Stay Dead, which permanently kills creatures. And don't worry, all that stuff will make more sense once we show you how to play the game. But there you have it. There are character ability cards as well that get placed on your board as such. Well, not like that, but with the proper character. So ideally we'd be using the Bard's cards, but actually the Bard's got some cool abilities. He can use other players' cards. Well, there you have it. We've now covered all the components, and we're really coming at you with the setup. Now let's take a look at how you set a watch. Well, we're going to start with the characters just to keep things simple. So you need to select the characters that you're going to be playing with in the game. We're going to take the Rogue. We will also take the Cleric, as well as the Wizard, and finally the Ranger. So I'm actually going to be moving some stuff off camera because I really want to keep things nice and close so that you'll get a good idea of how you set up the game. And then we'll adjust everything so you get a better view during the how to play. So we pick our characters. Each player will then take their 5 ability cards. So you've got them all here. Oh, we'll place that up with the Rogue. We then need to select our dice. So D6s are going all around here. We really don't have that much in the way of D8s. We'll use the green as they show up a little better. Grab the last 3 missing dice. And what you're then going to do to finally set up your character is you're going to equip your starting abilities. So for example, the Rogue, it'd be Stay Dead, Backstab, and my other favorite right now is the Poison Blades. So there you have it. You've got your dice, you've got your character set up, and each player will then do that, and you're ready to start the game on the player side. So we'll leave these out for now as we're going to set up some other stuff, but like I said, I'm probably going to move them out of the way as I show you just a little bit more with the Unhallowed and make some room for the other cards. Now we need to look at setting up the creature deck. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 acolytes. They are always included in the creature deck. Next, you need to select, depending on the difficulty, 4 summon cards. So I'm going through the summons. I'm going to take out the ones that are the standard ones. And we'll take a look at what they are. They say immediately exhaust an adventure card, then replace this card with the top card from the Unhallowed deck and put it in the graveyard. Now you're going to make 2 separate piles if you're doing it on normal. So easy is 1, normal is 2, hard is 3, insane is 4 cards. What you're then going to do is you're going to take the creature deck, which you've shuffled, and including the acolytes, you need a total of 30 cards. Not including the summon. The summons are counted as extra. So you should have a total deck of 32 cards. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just deal out 14 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now this makes up our first stack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now you don't have to split the acolytes. It's just something I like to do because you do have to split the summons. Now, if you are playing a different difficulty level, just please check the rulebook. It'll tell you how to stack the cards. You really want 1 summon per stack of 15 cards. Well, 16 once you throw the summons in. So I just put the acolytes as well. Then you shuffle this up. We've got the first stack. We shuffle it up. We've got our second stack, which makes up the creature deck, which we're going to want to have near the board. Next, with regards to the Unhallowed, these are going to be placed face up. So it looks like I won't have to move the adventurers, actually. Thought that I would. Move them. And then you place the Unhallowed near the box, face up. Now, we need to take a look at setting up the locations, and the locations are a little different. So we're going to go through the deck. We're going to make sure we take out all of the rest locations. We've got some of them right here. We'll put the Witch's Shack back in. So there's the other rest location. So if I'm not mistaken, there are 5 of them. So there should be 1 more that is here. Got the Hidden Temple. Then we have the 3 final locations. So what do we do with this? Well, we take these location cards, shuffle them up, and then we're going to deal out 8 of them, which for the moment I'm going to place right here. Now these become the unused location cards. You now take the rest locations and you're going to mix them in. Make sure that they're good and shuffled. You want to potentially be able to find those locations as the game progresses. It's a big help sometimes to get a chance to rest instead of being under siege. Now these will then go in the unused location pile. We've got our locations right here, but we're forgetting something. We need to pick the final location. So we can take a look at them. We can pick whichever one we want to face. Each of them has their own different abilities that can be helpful or potentially hinder well, most of them are actually helpful because as you can see, the challenge is high 9, 10, and 12. So for the sake of this one, we're going to pick the Forbidden Tower, set that off to the side, and then we will place this right here. So there you have it. The game is actually now just about all ready to go. We want to make sure that we have these watch tokens nearby so that we can start giving them to heroes once they've taken their watch. Now each player is required to take 2 watches at camp. We'll talk about that as we go more into the how to play. We've got the fire tokens nearby. Now we need to figure out what the starting level is going to be. So I'm going to place these 3 right here. Now there are 2 ways to do it. You can either place the starting level, take the orange token, set it at 7, which you're allowed to do, or for more challenge, you take a D8, you roll it, and your starting firewood level would be whatever the D8 is. As we just want to teach you the game, we're going to set it at 7 as is recommended in the rulebook for your first game. Now, we've taught you how to set up the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some stuff around, adjust the camera and get it a little higher up. And we're going to finish equipping these players and we'll teach you how to play Set a Watch. Now I've finished setting up the characters. You can see what die corresponds to which character. Our watch tokens are just in the box because it felt like the best place to put them. And we are ready to go and teach you the game. Now, the game is going to start with us revealing the first location card, which is the Ruined Gate. Now, what it says here is that the adventurer with the highest total die roll who is able to rest must camp this round. That's really annoying, but we'll make it work. We see the amount of creatures we're going to be playing in the line and the amount of negative effect we have to our firewood. Now, as this is the first turn, this is ignored. So we need to figure out who must camp this round. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll the dice. And the one thing I want to just state is pay attention to what this is. It'll affect the game differently. Some effects will even carry through until the next camp phase. So we'll roll for the ranger. It was a total of 14. We'll roll for the cleric. Who is not going to camp. We've got 9 for the rogue. I'm just going to place each of these over the characters. I know it's not as pretty, but working with the space I got. And the wizard is 3, 1, and 1. Oof. Not very good. Well, we now have to then take... So we've got everything set up. And our ranger has to camp, which is what I was saying. Now, let's go over what we can do in camp. Well, if we had been lucky enough to roll doubles like the wizard, we would then be able to, and this is just an example, we could use these special actions on the cards, which are Seal, Bolster, and Vanquish. Now, for example, I could trigger any 2 of them. With rolling doubles, I could trigger all 3 of them with triples. Now, I don't really want to go over what those are. Just for example, Seal will let you get rid of an Unhallowed that is entered into play that's in the graveyard. Bolster will let you potentially re-roll all of your die. And Vanquish actually lets you remove a card from the enemy horde, which gets added to the location at the end of the game. Not very fun. We'll talk about that quickly as we do an explanation of the final location. So, I actually did cover all that in detail. Really wasn't what I had planned. Now, what else can we do in camp? If, say, an adventurer has an exhausted card, I'm going to just flip these 2 over for a quick example. If we have exactly a 6, which we do, we can spend our 6 there to heal the adventurer that is actually on watch and not in camp. Now, when an adventurer goes to camp, they are automatically able to heal an exhausted card unless the game dictates otherwise. Now, you may take an equip action with any die, meaning you can swap out your skills for any one of your other skills that you have. You may only do this for 1 card. If you have a 4+, you can then check the map, meaning you can see what the next location is, compare it to the location at the top of the deck, which is the remote tavern, and you're then able to swap the cards out. So that's actually exactly what I'm going to do. So what then happens is the Snowy Pass will go at the bottom of the location deck, but it doesn't really matter. We're not going to go through all of that in terms of how to play. So I'm just setting it off to the side. But remember, it should be at the bottom of the location deck. Now the remote tavern will then go at the top of the deck. So good use of our die. We can then chop firewood for the other 2 die, for example, which would then increase our light by 4. It goes up by 2 for each of them. Or, for example, we can take the scout ahead action where we're able to reveal the next 2 cards in the line, and we're then able to put them back in any order that we want or at the bottom of the deck. Now, as we're starting out in the game, I want firewood. Taking a scout ahead action is not what I'm going to do. But as you can see, you've got the greater than symbol right here, meaning that if you wanted to take multiple actions, the dice have to increase in value. So I'm happy with what we've got going on. We're going to increase by 4. I may have made a slight mistake with the scout ahead, so feel free to take a look at the rule book. If I did make a mistake, I'll pop up a little card that will reference to go down to the video description, but that's what I remember. So I believe scout ahead, once again, can either go in any order at the top of the deck or one at the top and one at the bottom. It can be a very powerful action. Now, each adventurer in camp also has a special ability. So for example, the Elven Scout, you can draw, look at and rearrange the top 4 cards of the creature deck and return them to the top of the deck in any order. So if I wanted to have spent the day on that, I could look at the top 4 cards. So we got 3 of them and potentially rearrange them. Now would I want to do that? Well, ideally we don't want an Ember Drake or a Wyvern being revealed as the first position card. It's fairly annoying. Now, with that being said, we've gone over all the camp actions. So let's deal out these 6 creatures that we're going to be facing. So the line will just be down at the bottom here. Doing my best. So we've got 5 and 6. We will now take a look at the light level. So our light level is 2, meaning we reveal the first 2 characters in line. And, oops, just put this back where it is. So now it is time for the characters on watch to go into action. So what I'm going to do is I'll take a quick break. I'll title this section the camp phase and a camp phase overview. Let's take a look at what happens when we are on watch. It is now time to go through the watch part of a round. Now, as you can see, all of our characters have all of their abilities. It's the first phase. We're facing the bear. We've got this fell beast, which you really don't want to have come into the first position. And before I forget to mention it, it's one of the most important things is that each of these abilities that an adventurer has can be used twice. Once by placing a die on it, the second time by exhausting the card, meaning you can willingly exhaust a card to use the ability, but it cannot be then triggered again until it has been healed, either by a character such as the cleric or by the heal action in camp. So let's get to it and see what we want to do. We definitely want to get rid of the fell beast, but we got nothing great to take it out with yet. Right now the wizard is our only ranged characters. So let's see what we can do. So the first thing we're going to do is reveal 2 creatures and then defeat one of them whose size is equal to or under the total die roll this round. So we'll flip this over. We've revealed the Ember Drake and the Wyvern. Unfortunately, we cannot defeat the Ember Drake, but we can defeat the Wyvern. And as the rogue has a special ability, Stay Dead, the Wyvern is actually out of the game. Any character that the rogue defeats or helps defeat is permanently removed from the game. It's one of the reasons why the rogue is my favorite character. So this Wyvern is now gone. And while we don't really have that many great things to do with our cleric, we can play Blinding Light. We can reveal the next 2 creatures, negating any reveal abilities. Now, here's where things start to get very interesting because the rogue can now take their 4 and trigger Poison Blades, which means the next 2 direct attacks from the party deal +2 damage for each revealed creature, meaning the next attack gains +10 damage. And as we really want to get rid of these guys, we can take out the Fell Beast. We'll then place the die on the exhausted spot. The Fell Beast is now defeated. It goes into the graveyard, which is great. So we can do that one more time. So we will use the cleric because this time now this Poison Blades is now +8. Don't forget the cleric is ranged. That's why, sorry, I neglected to mention it. Ranged characters can attack first and second position. So sorry about that. Should have mentioned it right away. But I've only made 1 attack. Well, melee characters can only attack the first position. So we are able to take out the Ember Drake, removing that character. we've got the shock bolt, and we definitely don't want the bandit to arrive in first position, as he would steal a die. If a die gets stolen, you cannot get it back until a new round starts. So we'll trigger the shock bolt, defeating the bandit, leaving us with just the 2 bears, which have a total of 4 and 5. So how are we going to make this work? Because one of these guys could potentially go into the horde, which we don't want. But let's explain what happens. So let's say I don't use any of my special abilities here. I just try to kill the first bear with the rogue using my last die. He goes into the graveyard. Now, what will then happen is this next horde will go into the zombie, not the zombie horde, so used to that. We'll go into the horde, so it gets placed in the horde face down, and the team will take damage equal to whatever is listed up here. So we'd, for example, have to exhaust 1 card. We get to pick which adventurous card we would like to exhaust. The start of the game, not that bad, because one of us is going to go into camp. However, the cleric does have the protective ward, which means once per round, let a creature in first position into the horde without taking damage. So we can do that if we wanted to, use protective ward. We won't take any damage, but we did let a creature get by into the horde, which is something that we really don't want. So what would our best way to handle this be? Well, for example, the wizard could just use his shock bolt. Now, letting one of these guys in is not that bad of an idea, but we want to kill everything. So the rogue will defeat the bear. That means the bear is then removed from the game. And the wizard will then trigger his shock bolt by exhausting it. He has 2 dice that he never used. But there you have it. We have successfully cleared the round. And we're now going to go into another camp phase. So keep it right here. And I'm going to go through the second round of the game. All right, it is now time for us to start our second camp phase. So this is going to move a lot faster than the previous round. We're going to roll the dice. And we'll see who is going to go to camp. Not a great roll from the rogue. And a little bit better from the cleric. But actually everyone's got a fairly solid roll. But we do have the exhausted shock blast. So, for example, this turn we're actually going to send the wizard to camp. So, when the wizard goes to camp, he refreshes his shock bolt. He's going to place the die back where they go. And let's see what we're going to do. Now, healing isn't needed. We have the 6, we could do it. No doubles to trigger any of the abilities. We don't want to check the map because we know what we got, but chopping firewood is definitely a good idea. We can even chop firewood again to get things up to the max. So I'm going to swap this with our level 3 token. Chop some more firewood. And we'll scout ahead. Take a look at the top 2 creatures, and made a mistake here. This is Corrupted Druid. Druid is an Unhallowed. I'll just place them at the top of the Unhallowed deck. So we've got the Emperor Drake and the Fell Beast, 2 cards that we really don't want in first position. So we're going to just place them at the bottom of the deck. So we've now got everything set up. We then reveal the new location, which is the remote tavern. So as you can see, the adventurer resting in camp refreshes an additional card. This ability is going to trigger on the next camp phase before we draw the next location. So nothing's going to affect our firewood. We're only facing 5 monsters in the line, which is very good. And we get to reveal the first 3. So this wyvern's annoying, but we have to defeat the metal golem before the wyvern. And let's see what we're going to want to do for the game. So first things first, we're going to trigger the backstab. Again, we'll reveal the last 2 creatures here. And unfortunately, we're not able to do anything with regards to killing any of them. It would have been nice to potentially have used Blinding Light to stop the reveal effect on the Acolyte, but we've got the Summon card, which then goes into the graveyard, and then we draw the Corrupted Druid, who then replaces it. Now, we do not have to trigger his reveal effect because we are just placing him into the line. We really want to get this guy out of the game. We have an opportunity to get rid of the Acolyte as well. Notice how everything is revealed. Meaning Poison Blades is a great card to use right now because we'll be dealing additional damage. So that's once again an extra 10 damage that we're able to do. So we need to get rid of this guy. So we're going to kill him with the Metal Golem. Sorry, we're going to kill the Metal Golem with the Ranger. Slide everything up. However, we've got the Sharpshooter ability, so once per round you may re-roll and reuse the die spent on a direct attack. Direct attacks are when you place a die, so I get to re-roll the die, and it is another 4. Now once again we want to get rid of the Wyvern, so we're going to attack the Wyvern, and it is also dead. We've now spent our special abilities, so we just need to clean up everything else that we've got here. It's fairly easy for us to defeat the Eagle, just with the 4. We do not want to let the Acolyte get into first position, so we'll defeat the Acolyte. Now we can get this Corrupted Druid out of the game by, let's just place everything where they need to go. Essentially just teaming up, the Cleric and the Rogue can do it together, because the Rogue, essentially you can just classify as them being the last hit. The Corrupted Druid is removed from the game, getting rid of that enemy. And we didn't even have to exhaust any cards. And before I forget, this was the second round of the game. As the wizard is rested in camp, they then have the watch token, and you have it at the ×1. Each player needs to rest in camp 2 times. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be playing the game like this until you get to the final round. Hopefully you don't have that many cards in the horde, but we're going to come right back and we'll show you what will happen once we get to the final location. So keep it right here and we'll be right back. So for this example, we have now arrived at the Forbidden Tower. Now you may be wondering why I haven't rolled any of the dice. We've got this location revealed. Well, the reason for that is all the adventurers must go on watch. So I'm just going to roll all the dice here at once, and we'll place them with their correct characters. You notice that the party has sustained some combat damage. Oh, and I knocked the box there. Just make sure everything stays visible. We've got our wizard dice, and we've got the rogue dice. So everyone is now on watch. The Fire Order would be affected with the -2. We now set up the creatures for a total of 9. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm drawing these 3 just so you can see them. I think I might have mixed up the order. It's not that big of a deal. They're going to be just placed off camera here. And actually, then you're going to place as you need them. Any cards that are placed in the horde are going to come out afterwards. So for example, the total cards we're going to have to face now is going to be 9. These 9 plus these 3 for a total of 12. And to beat the game, we need to survive the round. So I'll leave these 3 right here. And for the moment, I'm just going to leave the horde in the horde location because it's just a little crowded. I really wanted to have the close-up view. We didn't reveal the first 2 cards, which really sucks because we have to lose a die right away, which is going to be the 2 die from the Ranger. Now, we need to somehow beat the game and survive this round. Well, we don't have too many deadly enemies in front, which is not very good. We got a solid roll from the rogue here. So we're going to backstab these two characters right here. So the acolyte here, we have to add a creature to the horde. Now, as a horde is in the game already, this goes into the horde pile, meaning that won't affect these three cards, which I'm just going to place here right now. So luckily, the acolyte's ability is not that annoying. However, we do have the forest giants with its ongoing effect, meaning we have to reveal one of these first cards that we don't have visible, which is the fire serpent. So Space House is equal to the current health of the fire, which is 10. So this guy's got 10 health, meaning he boosts the health of the forest giant to 18. Very, very annoying. Now, we are able to defeat a character whose health is lower in our total roll, meaning we're going to get rid of the acolyte. So we've got our cards visible right there. So 2 more to come out, then we still have the 3 that were in the horde. Now I'm going to use Blinding Light. Sorry, place the die to signify I used it. We use Blinding Light. We get the Vampire, which steals the highest available die to become this card's base house. So luckily, Blinding Light cancels the reveal effects, but we do get the Summon, which is annoying, meaning we summon an Unhallowed, which really is not that bad, but it does have an ongoing effect. Every creature goes to the graveyard before Pyromancer reduces the firewood by 1. Well, you don't want that because if our firewood gets down to 0, we lose the game. The only way to keep our firewood up is to exhaust cards. So how are we going to get rid of these guys? Well, turns out we've got the Chaos Blast, which lets us defeat 2 revealed creatures, but we do have to add another creature to the end of the line. I'm going to slide this up. We slide these 2 up right here. And we then have our 3 left in the horde and the new one that I just added because we use Chaos Blast. So still got plenty of stuff to try to get through, but we're looking pretty good. Luckily, this vampire is very weak. Now, I'm going to try backstabbing again because it's just too great a way to get rid of characters, so we get to reveal them. So ongoing, the Shade's base house is equal to 16 minus the current firewood value, so he's not that difficult. But unfortunately, this guy brings the Pyromancer back into play. So, because the Pyromancer comes back into play, it was not one of the revealed creatures, means we can only defeat the Shade. The Shade goes in, and it affects what we can do with regards to firewood. Sorry, the Pyromancer gets triggered. We then bring out another card. Well, that's just really unfortunate. Pyromancer is too annoying. We're going to Chaos Blast him and the Fire Serpent. They go in, slide this up. We now get into the Horde card, so I'll just leave them there like that, slightly visible, maybe slightly off camera, as that's what we got left. We still can only reveal the first 2 cards, but overall we're doing pretty good. We haven't used too many of our dice. No, this guy's got to go, so we're just going to Shock Blast the Bandit. This die, unfortunately, gets returned to the exhausted position, can't be used again. Slide everything up, giving us some more stuff that we can do. And I neglected to place a die on Blinding Light, so let's get that taken care of. Oh, you know what? I'm going to just use Blinding Light again. Heal them. Ongoing, the Zombie Lord's health is added to the graveyard's base. Is added to the creature's base health on top of the graveyard. Fortunately, the goblins run up into first position, but that's not too difficult as we can just murder them with one of the 6s. Actually, we don't necessarily need to do that. We can actually use Cleanse Undead here and just get rid of all the undead that are revealed in the line. Which brings this up to here. Now we'll defeat one with the 6. The last one, which is Skeletons. So we're doing pretty good. We can use a 3, kill it. We can re-roll the die from Sharpshooter, so we've got a 4. Now, we've got our last 2 creatures. Everything is fairly well handled here. I mean, we've got 6, 4, defeated. We lose a Firewood, and then a 4, another 4, and there you have it. We will have successfully beat the round because we have plenty of cards left available, and our heroes were not defeated. Also, our Firewood did not go down to 0. So there you have it. That's how you play the final round of Set a Watch. This would be a victory on normal. Now keep it right here as Julie and I will come back at you with our review of the game. So Set a Watch by Rock Manor Games, designed by Todd Walsh. What did you think of this game?
Well,
This Kickstarter game.
I thought it was different. It was different from other dice chucking games that we've played. So that I thought was fun.
Yeah, the other dice chucking games like Thanos Rising, 5-Year Mission, and quite a few others that I'm just drawing a blank on right now. We like dice chucking games. There's quite a few in our collection. Didn't have that puzzle mechanic that you really get in this game.
Yeah, and you confused me when you described that as a puzzle. I was expecting, like we're going to puzzle which is not what you get.
I meant the gaming version of puzzle, which I'm used to. For me, it means other things. That's coming from a long-time RPG player.
Yeah, so for non-RPG players, what we mean is that we're, basically you have to try to figure out how you're going to use your dice, your ability, how you're going to work together to get through the horde, because you can't just randomly try to attack things because you're going to run out of abilities
Yeah, you got to chain everything together. You've got to work together. And it's a very strong cooperative game, and we really enjoy how all of the heroes work together. That being said, we also found that, well, I'll let you say it, Julie, since it was probably your first comment after our worst playthrough of the game.
Yeah, when we played our different characters, I enjoyed some of our characters. I played the Ranger, the Wizard. I also tried the Knight, and you've played a slew of others. We came to the conclusion that they're not all created equal.
No, they're definitely not all created equal. I mean, the Beastmaster and the Bard have some interesting mechanics. They got some really cool abilities. Part of their core feature is the ability to tame certain types of creatures, undead and humans for the Bard, forest creatures for the Beastmaster, and throughout our first 3 missions, not a single forest creature came up, meaning that my Beastmaster was essentially limited to just his dice. And that's a very weak position to be in. One of the biggest aspects of the game is knowing when to exhaust your cards, use your abilities, trigger your abilities with dice, and having a character that essentially couldn't use any abilities was fairly frustrating. Now, I may have been able to re-equip some of my abilities at camp. I probably maybe just didn't pick all of the best ones, but even then, the core of him is taming forest creatures. Waiting through missions to start getting some out is incredibly frustrating.
Well, and again, that's the turn of the die. And I mean, there is some luck in this. It's dice chucking, so obviously there's luck there. It's also which cards come up when. We had a horde come up that was very easy to beat. We didn't even use all of our dice, let alone any of our abilities or many of our abilities. But I think that's one of the things that I like about this is that the abilities allow you to a certain extent to mitigate a bad roll.
Definitely, and that's one of the best parts about the game. I mean, we played it 5 times. You've primarily stuck with the Wizard and the Ranger because those are your 2 favorite characters.
And that's one of the things I like about the game. You can pick a character. You can pick characters that suit your style of play. Jason played.
That's where I'm going to just disagree a little bit. Because I don't think there's so much a style of play. There may be things that you like to do, but as it being a puzzle, it's all still about working together. It's not like a Wizard in Descent. But I know what you're saying. I'm just saying.
I really like the way the wizard worked. In this case, the Wizard had abilities that allowed to defeat a monster that's 8 or below can do chaos blast and kill 2 side-by-side revealed monsters. Those are some of the abilities that I love the most about the wizard. I also love the ranger for the ability to get that additional die roll that you can, as a passive ability, that you can take 1 direct damage.
Since you have 4 dice that you can use if you're playing as the ranger, you automatically get 1 die that you can use for direct damage that you can then get back. And that's what I mean by some characters not all being created equal. Some of them were added as stretch goals during the campaign, so I don't know if they just didn't have as much testing, but it was quite clear to me at least that the wizard, the ranger, the rogue, who has, I'd say, is probably has some of the best abilities in the game. The backstab ability combined with stay dead and the ability to boost everything for revealed creatures is just, it's almost too good, because what the rogue can do is actually eliminate cards from the creature deck. So by working together, solving the puzzle, we had one playthrough where I think we eliminated just about every single one of the big creatures from the deck, anything that was dangerous. We had a stack of 15 cards, so half the creature deck was completely out of the game, meaning we were only facing very weak creatures. Very cool. It's a lot of fun. But if the rogue is so good, why would I want to play some of the other characters? I did find that out of all the characters that we played, I think the knight is not as, probably not as good as the ranger, but the knight was definitely effective. Some of the abilities they had against dragons and things like that can be very strong.
It just, again, like you were saying, for the Beastmaster, we played 2 rounds and the dragon didn't come out.
No. I would say that the warrior is a superior version of the knight a little bit. So I'd say the best characters are probably the wizard, ranger, warrior, cleric, whose abilities are a little weak, but the defense ability that he provides and the ability to heal more than makes up for not as good combat abilities. And the rogue are the ones that I would say are really your main characters. And again, those really are the characters that do make up the core of an adventuring party or an MMORPG.
One of the things I enjoyed is, as long as you're working together, you can figure out the game. And like you said, we played 5 games. There's only once that we lost, and we lost miserably. And that's the time that we had the suboptimal, I would say, selection.
Suboptimal party configuration. That's a good point to say. It's not always just about playstyle. I do think you can slot in the bard and the other characters that are a little bit different onto your team and still have success. I just don't think that some of the characters that I perceive to be weaker, now I'm sure there's other people out there that will play the game that have different opinions, I think they would have worked better in conjunction with other characters. I felt like we were just taking too much damage, and potentially having a cleric instead of the Beastmaster and the bard might have made our life a lot easier.
I also liked the fact that there was 8-sided dice for some of the range characters. At least for my ranger.
Well, not just the range. You also added on the warrior. So any of the high combat characters, or in a traditional role-playing game or fantasy setting, those high damage characters all got to use D8s, which is definitely cool. There's really a lot to like about the game now. So we've been kind of mixing up what we like, what we don't like. I think the only thing that I don't like, besides the way the character classes are built, is just really the card stock. I felt the card stock was a little cheap. We'll definitely be sleeving the game. It's something that, as we mentioned, travels very well. Everything you need is in the box. It's a great game to bring on vacation. If it wasn't for the line there, you could almost even play it on a plane without too much difficulty. So really like that aspect, but we're also already seeing some damage on the character cards. Like I said, just card stock, not as good as I would like, but overall, no complaints. The value proposition of the game, I believe the base game was a $22 game. I think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. So now let's go fully into what we like about the game.
Well, I think I've given those already. I like the colors and the art of it.
That's one thing we didn't talk about, is the art is very nice.
I think that's the only thing I can add to this. I think, like I said, I enjoyed the style of play, and I don't want to repeat myself again.
No, the art, I definitely have to give a big thumbs up. Everything looks very cool. The locations, creatures, characters, the art on the cards. I really enjoy that. And the board. I got to give props to the board. The way that it's set up, the fact that the board is part of the box itself, is something that I really like, and I think is is something that more companies should look at doing. Instead of including a separate board, if you can incorporate it into the box, especially with a game that you want to travel with, it gets big marks from me in that regard. And I would say that it is a very different style of cooperative game, and if you like co-ops, you like working together, you like dice chucking games, it's something you should definitely check out. So
Great.
Julie, what's your rating of the game?
It's a 7.5 for me.
7.5? I'm going to give it an 8, and the 8 really comes from the production value in the deluxe edition. Like, I know I hit it up on production value for cards, things like that. That's also that can be fixed externally if you want to really laminate your player cards, sleeve your cards. You can bring that quality up just a little bit. But the board, the art, the magnetic flip box, and the fact that everything's so compact.
The flame.
Yes, the wooden tokens. We did get the deluxe edition, so that's another reason why I'm giving it just a little bit of a bump. Other than that, I would say that it would be a 7.5. So very solid game. Great bang for your buck, and if you're looking for a new co-op game, I highly suggest going to Rock Manor Games. I'll have the link down below in the video description. I believe it's only available from their website currently, so check it out, and hopefully you'll pick up a copy.
And on that note, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notification when we have new content for you.
And down below in the video description, after we talk about this interesting, fantastic, puzzly game. I don't know why I said puzzly. You can find links to our social media feeds. So you will find Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, making a concerted effort to publish more stuff on more feeds, but primarily still posting stuff on Instagram. So make sure to check us out there, like, follow. Let us know if you want to find out as to what's coming up. Usually I post some pictures as to what we've been playing, but if anyone wants to see what might be coming up from the collection behind, send a comment our way. So what time is it, Julie?
It's time to grab our drink. Ooh.
Grab our best friend and traveling companion.
We're going to keep playing games.
We're going to keep playing games. And if we're going to keep playing this one, I wonder if there's going to be ever any expansions for this.
You could have more different characters.
Different characters, different locations.
Different beasts.
New abilities.